The human rights group Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project has filed a lawsuit asking the Federal High Court in Abuja to stop the President Muhammadu Buhari from spending 26 billion naira in the 2022 presidency budget on local and foreign travels, meals and refreshment, sitting allowance, welfare package and office building. This was contained in the suit with number FHC ABJ CS 1361-2021 filed last Friday. In the suit, Serap is seeking an order of mandamus to direct and compel President Muhammadu Buhari to cut the 26 billion naira presidency budget on local and foreign travels, meals and refreshment, and to send a supplementary appropriation bill to the National Assembly to reflect the reduction. Serap is also seeking an order of mandamus to direct and compel President Muhammadu Buhari to publish spending details on the State House Medical Center since May 29, 2015 to date, and to redirect some of the money on travels and meals to improve public health care facilities across the country. The rights group is arguing that the government would continue to borrow to fund the country's budget until there is a substantial cut in the cost of governance. It is in the public interest to stop the government from spending so much money on these items. Persistent borrowing is neither sustainable nor fair to the Nigerian people. End of quote. President Muhammadu Buhari recently announced that the deficit of the 2022 budget, which amounts to 6.26 trillion naira, will be financed through new borrowings, incomes from the sales of government assets, and drawdown on loans. Benga Adekoya in this report seeks to the opinions of Nigerians on the development as the year is gradually winding down.
Just 5 African countries, less than 10% of Africa's 54 nations, are projected to hit the year-end target of fully vaccinating 40% of their people, unless efforts to accelerate the pace take off. This comes as the region grapples to meet rising demand for essential vaccination commodities, such as syringes. 3 African countries, Seychelles, Mauritius, and Morocco,
Mixed reactions continue to trail federal government's plan to borrow more to finance the 6.258 trillion naira deficit in the proposed 2022 budget. The federal government on the 6th of October 2021 made it known to the general public that arrangements are again in the pipeline to borrow, considering the nation's desire to continue tackling its security challenges. These Nigerians are of the opinion that debt level of the federal government is still within sustainable limits if borrowings are to specific strategic project, which can be of benefit to the entire citizenry.
Borrowing as a nation does not portray us in any negative light, as I have always posited. Even the United States have borrowed close to $3 trillion or more in the last 2 years. The problem has always been, what are we borrowing for? What are we using this money for? Some people have dissected the 2022 budget, and we have found that a lot of the things that are contained in that budget are inanities. They are things that you would rather not have there.
We also need to think more critically about how we raise more revenue, particularly from taxes, so that a lot can be available to the government to service the citizens.
I think Nigerians are missing the point when they say we don't need to borrow. You see, you don't look at the economy of a nation like the economy of an individual, and that's why we call it macro and micro economy. The economy of a nation is a macro economy, and for a nation to be able to grow, there is need for us to borrow.
Dr. Moses Oyatogun raised concerns over government's continued resort to borrowing to finance the nation's fiscal gaps, citing several means from which income can be generated.
To me, it portrays us as a nation that is just borrowing. And you know, once you are borrowing, you will now be at the mercy of the person that is lending you the money. we need to do is to educate ourselves and make sure that we train our youths to be able to use the natural resources that are abundant with us, the human resources that are abundant, the educational resources that are abundant. We have all these things that nature has given us.
They all enjoined the federal government to always embark on projects that will have direct impacts on the entire citizenry.
Self-reflection is an important exercise for human development, which is necessary for all to engage in. It paves the way for positive repositioning in order to achieve set standards and goals. In this special report, Ayodeji Oluwumi takes a look at self-reflection and clerics' advice to the general public, especially as the year gradually comes to an end. His report.
According to economists, human wants are insatiable, and in line with these, people tend to set various goals and achievements when entering into a new year. However, unforeseen circumstances tend to distort these set goals, which might be frustrating and may lead to irrational decisions being taken.
2021 has been a very challenging year, considering the advent of COVID and then the economic challenges that Nigeria has actually been facing.
This notwithstanding, we hold the responsibility to worship alone. Then when we worship alone, everything comes in line by a mere worshiping Him.
Clerics urged the general public to hold on to God, as there is surely light at the end of the tunnel.
What we urge everybody is to train the path of fearing of God. So definitely Allah will be to our, or akin to our call.
My message to people that seems like it's the best part of their life is to tell them that there's still a better one. They can always strive to do better next year. And for those that feel like it's the worst part of their life, like they've had demands, they've had issues, I can always reassure them that as long as they wake and they still have breath, there's still hope.
We want to appeal to every fellow member to exercise a lot of patience, to seek refuge from the evil of this period.
So the best I'll just encourage people is to keep hope alive, is to hold on to hope that things are definitely going to get better. It doesn't matter how bad it has been, it doesn't matter how good it has been. One of the consolations we have from the scriptures is that better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof.
They also charged Nigerians to uphold the peace of the country, as it is the responsibility of all. Ayodeji Oluwumi, Ogtv News.
A day of tribute and eulogies it was at the 60th birthday celebration of the outgone Ogun State Head of Service Alhaja Salimot Olakpeju, who retired from the State Civil Service 3 days ago. Governor Dapo Abiodun, his wife and deputy, led other personalities to speak on life of the celebrant while in active service. Benga Adekoya's report is presented in this package.
She is an accomplished psychologist, community development expert and administrator who joined Ogun State Civil Service in 1987 and rose through the ranks to become the 5th woman to occupy the office of the State Head of Service and the 17th Head of Service since the creation of Ogun State in 1976. A celebration of an enigma it was, as people from all walks of life trooped out to rejoice with Alhaja Salimot Olakpeju Otun as she turned 60. The chairman, Council of Obas in Ogun State, Akaribo and paramount ruler of Remoland, Oba Babatunde Ajayi, who also happens to be the classmate of the celebrant, is the royal father of the day.
And you, my sister, who happens to also be my classmate, when I went to Remoland School. Up school again. I knew she was going to retire when she turned 60. But I'm sure she didn't know she would retire as head of service.
body of permanent secretaries, retired permanent secretaries and commissioners, not left out, lent their voices to the personality of the celebrant.
The target of service is our mother, as we usually call her. God gives her the spirit of humanity.
She has been the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. Though I did not meet her in person, when I met her work there, she's done a great job.
Wife of Ogun State Governor Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun and the Deputy Governor Engineer Noimot Salako Oyedele described the retired head of service as a woman of unblemished character and a professional par excellence. Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun was represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Tokumbo Talabi.
It just shows how complete Nigeria is. Very, very cooperative. You know, she also sustained a calmness in the civil service.
The birthday girl, Alhaja Selimot Olakpeju Otun, gives glory to Almighty Allah for the journey so far.
The journey has been very rough, but I thank God that I was able to get to the peak of my journey as the head of service of Ogun State. You know, I started as a community development officer level 8. I didn't even know that I would go to the top, that I would become head of service, but it's not by my means, but by God.
Alhaja Selimot Olakpeju Otun joined Ogun State Civil Service on 1st September 1987.
Culture and heritage should be considered paramount and must be celebrated. This was the submission of Moye Geso of Itile, Oba Muftau Adesonya Kasali during Itile Day, which is an annual celebration that brings together sons and daughters of the land to foster peace and unity. Ayodeji Luwumi completes the report.
Itele Day is an annual celebration among Ijebu Itele indigents in Ijebu East local government area of Ogun State. The celebration for the year 2021 was a special one as it coincided with Moye Geso of Itele, Oba Muftau Adesonya Kasali's 20 years coronation anniversary.
To bring unity among ourselves, to promote our cultural and customs heritage, to give our children sense of belonging, to appreciate each other, to create an avenue for all sons and daughters of Italy to come together for fun fairs every year.
Chairman of the occasion, Otumba Diran Eyin Fujowo, and other dignitaries present enjoined Itele indigents to support Oba Muftau Adesonya Kasali to ensure the growth and development of Itele town.
As the chairman of 28th years anniversary of Moye Geso of Itele, I've called the attention of the audience that the purpose and aims and objective of Kabiyesi, bringing people together, is to foster unity, develop, and all this cannot be achieved without bringing people. You can see the numbers of groups that are here.
They are doing it, they should continue doing it so that it serves as an avenue to bring people together and to chart a path for the future.
The celebration has always been a peaceful one every year. I just enjoy every sons and daughters of Itele, home and abroad, to see it as a day for them to always be present.
I want to congratulate sons and daughters of Itele and pray that by the special grace of God, next year we also come together at higher levels to come and celebrate our Kabiyesi and our town.
There was a march pass by different schools and associations in Itele town. Cultural display by indigents also spiced the occasion. Ayodeji Olunmi, Ogtv News.
The Director General, National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Shuaib Ibrahim, has commended the over 5,000 corps members deployed to Anambra for the governorship election to ensure a credible process. Ibrahim applauded the corps members while monitoring the election in 9 local government areas of the state. In a statement signed by Mrs. Adenike Adeyemi, the NYC Director, Press and Public Relations, Ibrahim described the corps members' participation in the electoral process as patriotic. He, however, urged the corps members to remain impartial and perform their duties in line with established rules. The News Agency of Nigeria report at least 5,000 corps members were deployed by the scheme to serve as polling officers during the conduct of the elections in the state. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says it has arrested a suspected notorious drug dealer, Mr. Okoli Kena, described as the mastermind of recent multiple attempts to export illicit drugs. The agency made the disclosure of the arrests in a statement released by Mr. Femi Babafemi, its Director, Media and Advocacy, on Sunday in Abuja. Babafemi said that the suspect had been linked to several trafficking in illicit drugs to London, United Kingdom, through the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. He noted that the suspect had been on bail granted by a Lagos State Federal High Court after he was arraigned in November 2020 over a charge of an attempt to export 15.700 kilograms of methamphetamine to Australia. Babafemi said the agency has since then been investigating the suspect activities linked to recent multiple attempts to export illicit drugs to the UK, which culminated in his arrest on Tuesday, November 2. According to him, the suspect had on him 78 parcels of cannabis concealed in black soap packs labeled as Duduoso, with a total weight of 12.250 kilograms while attempting to fly to the UK. And on the foreign scene, Sudanese security forces have fired tear gas at dozens of teachers who were taking part in pro-democracy protests in the capital, Khartoum. There are reports that many teachers were detained by the security forces. Overnight, demonstrators set up barricades for the first of 2 days of planned civil disobedience to protest against the last month's coup. They are demanding the military government step back and allow a peaceful transition to civilian rule. The demonstrations are happening as Arab League mediators arrive in Khartoum for talks to try to defuse the crisis. The civilian Prime Minister, Abdallah Hamdok, remains under house arrest and is facing pressure from the military to cooperate with him. Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kazimi has said he escaped unhurt after a drone attack on his home inside Baghdad's high-security region. A drone laden with explosives struck the building, injuring 6 of his bodyguards in an apparent assassination attempt, officials said. Mr. Kazim called for calm and restraint from everyone. The attack, which comes after violent unrest over recent election results, was condemned by both the U.S. and Iran. Security sources say 3 drones were used to the attack, launched from near Republic Bridge on the river Tigray, but 2 were shot down. No one has said they carried out the attack in an area of the city housing many government buildings and foreign embassies. And on sport, Dean Smith has been sacked by manager of Aston Villa after 5 straight Premier League defeats, the club announced on Sunday. Smith guided Villa back to the English top flight in 2019, but has paid the price for their disappointing form this season, with Friday's 1-0 defeat at Southampton proving the last straw for club bosses. The former European champions were 15th in the Premier League table ahead of Sunday's matches after picking up just 10 points from their opening 11 games. Smith's departure comes the day after bottom club Norwich sacked their manager, Daniel Fark. Christian faithful should not focus on church or denomination as the only ticket to the kingdom of God, but must pay attention to their personal encounter with Christ towards the perfection of their faith. As Bishop of Lagos Diocese, the African Church Archbishop Oludotun Ogunseyi made this known in his sermon at the funeral service for Venerable Jesse Sowoluwe Oshoba held at the African Church Cathedral of St. James, Idiakwe, Abeokuta. Matthew Shewumi completes the report.
A shepherd in God's vineyard, an advocate of transformation and rebuilding of the Church of Christ, establishment of the doctrine of revival in the African Church, and spreading of gospel were some of the outstanding things in the accomplishment of the assignments given to Venerable Jesse Sowoluwe Oshoba in his 85 years sojourn on earth. Having passed on to glory, his wife, children, and family members were joined by clerics, faithful, and others to bid farewell to the great missionary. Archbishop Oludotun Ogunseyi said the accounts given by people on one's deeds upon taking the exit from the world indicates how one has lived one's life, as he described late Venerable Oshoba as a disciplinarian, honest and diligent servant of God.
Live a godly life and be kind and generous.
Right Reverend Jeremiah Okunlola and the Yaijo of the African Church Idiakwe, Iyalode Alaba Lawson, also described the deceased as a valiant soldier of Christ who fought many battles for Christ.
When I came here in Abeokuta, when he saw the grace of God upon my head, and he knew what he has passed through, particularly among our men, he supported me. He always called me, Jerry, don't worry, God is with you. And he's as bold as lion.
When it comes to giving good elderly instructions or giving us advice on how we can move closer to our God, crusades, evangelism, those are the crosswords of Baba.
The children and family members were joined in thanksgiving unto God for a life well spent, followed by prayers for the wife, children, and family members left behind. The remains of Venerable Oshoba were interred at his residence in Kuto, as guests were entertained at MKO Abiola International Stadium, Abeokuta. The children described the late shepherd as a mentor, motivator who gave everything to ensure they achieve success in life.
He gave us good things of life, education, support, love, everything you can think about.
When we talk of what a father should be, it's a complete figure of what a father should be.
He served God a lot. He devotes his time for God.
Venerable Oshoba is survived by a wife, many children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Matthew Showmi, Ogtv News.
And that's the end of the first segment of Sunday News Watch. Now time to join Mujisola Sholaja on People and Event.